The Ingham family's true extent of their financial crisis has been revealed. It's been released in documents today, and Chris and Sarah have truly been caught with their pants around their ankles. It's worse than we could ever have imagined. We're going to go through it today. This is yet another episode of What Can the Inghams Bring Us Today? Oh, it's so exciting, I've got to say. So, what has been released is the statement of affairs from the liquidators, and that basically tells everybody what is owed, who they owe money to, the assets that they have in the company, and we're going to go through it right now. So this is the statement of truth that Chris swears by on his deathbed, I guess. I don't know. So it says, I believe that the facts stated in this statement of affairs are true. I understand that proceedings for contempt of court may be brought against anyone who makes or causes to be made a false statement in a document verified by a statement of truth without an honest belief in its truth. And that is signed and dated by Christopher Ingham on the 22nd of May 2025. So the first segment that we want to look at is the assets. This is what is available to be sold off as assets of the company. They're not personal assets, they're company assets as registered or bought for by company funds. And we're going to have a look here at these are uncharged assets, which basically mean they are not secured to any loan or anything like that. So he's got listed here AV camera equipment, office equipment, and a director's loan account. Now, a director's loan account is basically money that is either owed by them or to them for to the company that they own. Basically, right? Whether they owe money or they've taken out loans from the company, that's what that is for, and that comes under assets in this instance. So we're going to look at the figures here. The camera equipment is £20,134 it's worth, or rather, sorry, clarify that it's not what it's worth. This is how much it was valued at when it was bought. The office equipment, £5,638, and the director's loan account, this is money that they owe to the business, is £59,470. That's how much they've taken out or been loaned personally by the business, by the company, by their own company. So that's the only assets, and that's surprising to say the least, given the amount of vehicles that they have at their disposal. No chance in hell are they all owned by them personally, right? Because most of them are used for business purposes. It would have made sense at the time anyway to use company funds to buy them and everything like that. So, what's happening to the vehicles? They have the car, they have the DPD van, they have the caravan, they have the RV, and none of them are owned by the company. Apparently, none of them are listed as assets. So what's happening with them? Well, we're going to have a look at that today. The first one, right, is the DPD van we're going to look at. That's their Chrissy's baby. So this one is the DPD van, and we're going to look at a little detail which has been changed fairly recently on the logbook, the V5, which is the ownership of the van, and that was changed in August of last year, the 27th of August last year. They changed the ownership of the van. Now, who owns the van? Because I thought that van clearly was owned by Chris, you know, or the business, or the company at least, or somebody, you know. There's no way Chris has signed it away. Who's he sold it to? He hasn't sold it to anybody. Where is it? What's it doing? Why is it changed ownership? The next one we're going to look at is the car, that's otherwise known as the taxi, that people sometimes call it, because it is a former taxi. Now, this is another one which has had its V5 changed recently. The ownership of the car has recently changed hands, and that was changed hands as recently as March of last year. Now, March of this year. So this is a bit confusing for me. Why has he changed the ownership on the car, which, as you can see here in this screenshot, they were driving around as well in April of this year. So they changed ownership in March. They gave it away or did something with it in March, but they were still driving it in April. So what's happened? What's going on there? Why has both the car and the van changed ownership in the past, less than a year, right? What's that about? Because I can't understand why he would give them away. He hasn't given them away. As you can see, they're still driving the car. Changing ownership, I mean, he could have transferred them to Sarah, to Isabel, I guess, to Katrina, and people like that. He could have transferred them, but why would he? There's literally no reason. Okay, maybe he decided to give Isabel the car. Maybe that is her car, but the van is another prospect. Why would he transfer the ownership from himself, unless it wasn't himself that it was previously owning it? Maybe it was in fact the company that was owned it. That would make sense. But there's no reason for him to have given away two vehicles just like that, but kept them, right? Because we know he's still got the DPD van and the car. So he's transferred the details, the ownership, but kept them. So that's very dodgy to me, especially given what's about to come out now about what they owe and the fact that they're liquidating their company in this way. Now, going back to their assets, the disappointing aspect of this is that all of their assets have been estimated to be valued at nil, zero, zilch, nothing. So basically they haven't got anything to give to any creditors based on that. I don't understand how that is true. If they got £20,000 worth of camera equipment, none of it's worth anything. I mean, what they're shooting pictures on right now, I mean, I'm guessing it's what has been declared, I guess, to the liquidators. I don't know how it works exactly, but surely to goodness the company has more items. It probably depends what is in the company's name right now, right? I'm guessing the items which the equipment that they use right now is probably not registered to the Ingham Family Limited, and that's why it's not included. But again, that's it's all very dodgy in my opinion, because it was all registered with the company whilst these were insolvent, right? And we'll see in a second exactly why they were insolvent more than a year ago. Chris says that they stopped trading over a year ago, and none of that flies according to this. So this next segment is all about the creditors and the preferential creditors in particular. Now there's two kind of creditors. One is preferential, who get the money first if there's any money to be given, and then there's the others that are non-preferential if there's any money left over. So these are the preferential creditors. And the only ones listed here are HMRC, no great surprise in that, and it's specifying PAYE. So what that means is, I'm guessing that it's something to do with them not paying tax, employee tax, because if you don't know, when you run a company, you as directors are employees of the company, so when you get paid by the company, then you have to pay the company has to pay tax on your behalf and send it to HMRC. They haven't been doing that, so any money, any taxes that they've personally had to pay has never been shifted off to HMRC, or this amount has not been shifted off to HMRC. That is what that means. But the amount here is, well, it's fairly negligible, but you know, it's not, I mean, in terms of HMRC, it's negligible, I guess. It is £660.68. So that's what is owed preferentially, and they have to pay that first if there's any assets to pay that off. Now the next one we're going to look at is the other ones that they're not preferential but they're still owed, right? And this is the bigger one, the more juicy one, right? The one that shows up for their company being as brokies as Chris has always dreamed of being. But these are unsecured creditors, so they're not secured by like anything, right? You know what I mean? Anyway, so the first ones, well, the ones, right? You've got a bounce back loan for Lloyd's, and that is a bounce back loan was during COVID when companies were given help, right, to get through COVID. They didn't need it, but they still took out a loan because why not? Then there's HMRC again. I'm not sure why this is not counted as a preferential loan in this, or preferential debt in this instance, but this is regarding corporation tax or VAT penalties. So this is them not paying their tax on the company. Then there's also another one called Capital on Tap, which is a credit card company for businesses. So they took out a credit card for a business, and that's what that is. Now for the big reveal, what you've all been waiting for, right? How much do they owe these companies? So the first one is Lloyd's for the bounce back loan. That's £30,000. That's a lot of money. If you remember rightly, back in 2020, they bought this caravan. Well, it was a caravan allegedly for Esme's birthday. It cost £30,000, and that's what they spent the bounce back loan on. The thing that was supposed to be to help businesses thrive during COVID, and they bought a caravan with it. Yep, that £30,000 for the caravan. The next one, which is the HMRC, was £91,429.84. That's a lot of money to owe HMRC, and that is for taxes, unpaid corporation tax, or VAT penalties. That's a lot of money. The next one being that Capital on Tap, and that's £15,000 loan. The thing that I would, or £15,000 anyway. The thing that I would notice here is the £30,000 and £15,000 that they were credit, and he's not paid a penny back of either of those at all, not a penny. So the total amount that they owe to all these companies or these organisations is around about £137,000. That's a lot of money. That's a huge amount of money. That's a scandalous amount of money in actual fact. And the thing that I would say here is that is not just accumulated in the past year, is it, Christopher? The bounce back loan in itself was 2020. That was 5 years ago. You said, right? You said that you don't owe any money. You don't owe any money. Maybe you don't owe any money. Your company owes money, which is you. It's insane to me that you've managed to accumulate all these debts here and just didn't bother paying them off. And the way I look at it, or the way I see it, is that it looks to me that you've run up those bills, decided that either A, you couldn't afford to pay them, or B, you couldn't be asked to pay them, and you fucked off and decided to restart and set up business in Dubai instead, where there's no taxes and you don't have to pay the government anything, right? So that's my take on it. And I think I'm probably close to the truth there, to be fair. So the fact that you've got these debts, right, this is the very definition of being insolvent, right? So you were running at a major loss, your company couldn't afford to pay their debts, you were insolvent for a lot longer than just the year that you've not been trading, right? That's important, because you said, oh, we've not been trading for the past year in that company, so we don't owe anything. Well, that's not strictly true, is it? Clearly, you owe £137,000, and prior to you not trading through that company, you were insolvent. And whilst you were insolvent, you moved everything away from the Inghams family limited to whatever new business you have or company you have over in Dubai, right? And that seems to be a little bit dodgy, I think, from what I read. If you did that, then you can be prosecuted for doing that because it's kind of illegal. You can't move assets away if you are insolvent. So when you were insolvent and you moved assets away, or you siphoned money off to wherever, that was illegal, right? So it's possible, although I don't know, it's possible that they could still find you out about this, right, if they delve further into things and have a look, because to all intents and purposes, from the naked eye, it looks like you're still trading as the Inghams Family Limited, or if you're not doing that, you're certainly trading as a UK-based business, because according to your YouTube channel, you're still based in the UK. It's registered in the UK, your YouTube channel, and your YouTube channel is an asset. It's a huge asset. They could well seize that, sell it off, and because you shouldn't be trading under this name, because this company, right, this is a major one actually, the YouTube channel itself is it was trading whilst it was insolvent, and you moved it away, or didn't move it away, or whatever you did with it, but it's still tied to that debt. And what you've done here is you've moved your business away to Dubai in order to avoid paying these debts, which is, again, it's illegal. You can't do that. Now, the final thing to note is that apparently their caravan, the very swish and swanky caravan that they purchased a few years ago, is now up for sale. It's been spotted on Auto Trader, and they are trying to flog it off, as I assume that it is not tied to the limited company. Otherwise, they would have tried to hide it. It is up for sale for £25,000. Now, for those of you who are a bit confused, this is not the caravan that they bought with the bounce back loan a few years ago. They bought a caravan for £30,000 back in the day, and this is not that one, right? This is a different one completely. So this is their caravan, and I would assume, as I said, that this is not tied to the limited company. Otherwise, he would have tried to hide it. It's too obvious. I don't think the liquidators can do anything with it. This is definitely there, as you can see in the background of that picture, that there's the RV there as well. So yeah, this is quite exciting news, isn't it? It's quite exciting information, but I'm not quite sure where this leaves everybody. I don't think it's finished. Chris thinks that because they haven't got any assets, that they're not going to be pulled up for it, but I still think this isn't over, because the liquidators, they have to do their research, and they have to look into things, and if they are worth anything, they will find it. So there we go. If you have any comments about this situation, please let me know in the comments down below. I know you're going to have something to say, definitely. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Subscribe to the to the channel if you are new. If you want to find out more about this in the coming days, I'm sure it's going to rumble on for quite some time, so please sub to the channel for more. Until next time, have an amazing day. Don't be Chris and Sarah Ingham, please.